Hi everyone, my name is Stanley from Dark Skies Astrophotography. Today I want to present you a feature overview of N.I.N.A 1.8. First of all, what is N.I.N.A? N.I.N.A is a free and open source sequencing tool for astrophotography. It allows you to connect all of your equipment, set up sequences for one or multiple targets, aid you with framing, plate solving and previewing the image that you take during the night. Its target group are first and foremost beginner and more advanced hobbyist astrophotographers with minimal configuration requirement. To learn more and download the application, you can find it on nighttime-imaging.eu. The link will also be in the description. Without further ado, here's a short overview over the new features I will show you in more detail during this video. Let us begin with the first big thing. N.I.N.A has now an official website and an official new logo. On the website you will find first and foremost an overview of all of N.I.N.A's features. Of course, you will also find a download of N.I.N.A and all of its current update channels. What many of you might also find useful is the official documentation. And for people wholly new to N.I.N.A, you might want to consider the Quick Start Guide. Should you encounter issues during your usage or if you want to add feature requests, don't hesitate to open up an issue in the issue tracker. Please consider the already open issues before creating a new one. If you need immediate support or want to take part of the N.I.N.A community, join our Discord server. You will find that often someone of the developers is online to help you with your issue. Should you like what we are doing and want to support us running the webpage and continue the development of N.I.N.A, there's a way to make a small donation. Every cent counts and is hugely appreciated. Alright, let's now talk about the features that we actually brought into N.I.N.A. If you have been a previous user of N.I.N.A, the first thing that you will notice when you start the application is that we did a major redesign of many different elements. The most obvious change will be the new application icon on startup that will greet you with a modern, stylized look. 1.8 is an overall large change to the application, so a new icon that represents that change and brings N.I.N.A to the next generation was something that we really wanted to have. In terms of UI elements, starting on the left side, one of the more dominant changes are the tabs. Going from 1.7 with just icons and dividers, we have opted into having a modern looking pane that differentiates itself from the rest of the application with annotated icons and a seamless design. This should help you find your way around if you're a new user to N.I.N.A, and we hope it is an aesthetically pleasing change for the existing user base. In general, we have removed most of the dividers throughout the application to give it a modern and flat look and feel. The dividers added a lot of clutter, but yet did not really help with differentiating the section they divided. Application elements have been cleaned up as well. For example, here in the camera tab, if your camera does not have a cooler, the appropriate controls will now not be displayed. Reducing clutter is a common theme throughout the various application tabs to make it more efficient for you to do what you want to do, taking good images. Speaking of images, the imaging tab has also seen a major revamp compared to the previous versions. The buttons to enable and disable different panels have been moved to the top of the tab and were also divided into info and tools to make it easier to find the panels that you need. This was a necessary change, especially in regards of new N.I.N.A users, to make the usage as easy and straightforward as possible while retaining all functionality. Almost all panels that are used in the imaging tab have seen a major rework. We tried to optimize them in size so people with smaller screens can have more information that they need readily available on their screen. The most notable offenders were the panels that included graphs like the HFR history and guider. The legends have moved into the graph itself, giving more space for the actual necessary information. In addition to all of that, all panels have been unified. All panels can now be closed or restored based on your wish to modify the application to a state that you wanted to have. The panel headers got a makeup too, giving them a better way to differentiate from the panel content. With the base UI changes covered, you have surely noticed by now that the application received a new tab. It was one of the most requested features that we had, and we're glad to present to you the new flat wizard that made it in its first revision into N.I.N.A 1.8. We tried to make the flat wizard as simple as possible and at the same time allow lots of configuration options for users that have specific requirements for their flat captures. Given a proper light source and properly set configuration options, the flat wizard will determine the exposure lengths for flats dynamically and do the whole flat capture process in a fully automatic manner. The current implementation uses a 2-point linear extrapolation system, which will take two images with the configured stepwise exposures apart. Using those two captures, it will determine the length of the theoretical required flat capture. It will then try to take a single shot with that exposure time and adjust the time once again if necessary. Should issues arise, like having too short or too long flats based on the calculations, N.I.N.A will notify you to take further action with a description of the issue at hand. We have implemented two different operation modes, single mode and multi-mode. Single mode allows the capture of flats for a single filter or no filter at all in an easy manner. For people who do more than one filter per night of sequencing, the multi-mode will come in handy. It will allow you to capture flats for all the filters that you enable. In addition to that, the multi-mode allows you to set settings for each filter separately, which will be stored to your application profile. Everything considered, the flat wizard is a great addition to N.I.N.A, and we hope it will make the process of taking proper flats for you easier than before. Because really, who likes to have his final image integration ruined by bad flats? Now let's talk a bit about another major feature that was added in N.I.N.A 1.8, the offline framing source. It might not sound very exciting to start with, but brace yourself, this might blow your mind. There's a bit of ground to cover here, so let's start with an improvement over the already existing features. The framing assistant is now able to annotate all deep sky objects that we have present in our Sky Atlas database. Essentially, that means that all images you load into the framing wizard can and will be annotated with DSO on the image, an equatorial grid, and if you desire to do so, constellations and their boundaries. This works for all framing sources, including your own plate-solved images. All DSO have their own specific color scheme, which represents the type of the DSO they are as well. This feature was implemented in mind to have an offline framing source, so you can use a base canvas with the annotated DSO to frame your images. So let me demonstrate you here how that would look like. We think this alone is already a very cool feature to have for every user that has no internet connection when they are out imaging and want to frame a specific target. We could have stopped here, but we didn't. This feature evolved into a full-blown sky map, which you might know from other software like Stellarium or CardsDCL. All the annotation features I talked about earlier are of course also present here. In addition to that, you can pan the map around by dragging on the background and use the scroll wheel to zoom in and out. Our implementation allows you to zoom out seamlessly from a very large to a very small field of view. Of course, your current telescope position will be marked in the sky map just as well as on the other framing source now too. I cannot stress how cool this is and how much time we spent just dragging the sky map around to see the results. Keep in mind that this map in its first iteration only supports the right ascension and declination coordinate mode. To visibly see the current altitude of the point you are looking at, check the declination map in the bottom left corner. It goes without saying that the offline framing source also allows you to frame mosaics. We are very proud of that addition and hope it will help you frame your targets in the future. Stay tuned for further updates to this feature. There are some plans to integrate an altitude and azimuth mode and maybe images for the DSO too. For those of you that use more than one camera device on a single mount, we have implemented a special treat in N.I.N.A 1.8. It is a twofold change that will bring you more enjoyment during your imaging sessions and help you maximizing your efficiency. The first thing that I want to talk about here is the changes to the profile system. N.I.N.A already had a robust profile system before, but it had a major flaw. Saving profile changes overrode profile changes in other current loaded profiles. So if you had two N.I.N.A instances running at once, it was not possible to save changes to both. This is different now. The profiles you use in N.I.N.A can now freely save disregarding other loaded profiles. No more lost changes because you have had multiple N.I.N.A instances running at once. This was an important requirement for the next major feature, which is Synchronized Dithering. We have implemented a base framework that can utilize any guider, although currently only PHD2 is supported, and synchronize the diver requests over multiple N.I.N.A instances. It utilizes a server in one of the running N.I.N.A instances, and all diver requests will be handled through it. There are currently a few limitations in place, most notably when you connect to the Synchronized Diver service, dithering will be forced on for every sequence item. So it's not possible to set up something like dithering only at every 2 frames in one instance while the other one differs every frame. That being said, the synchronization process was heavily optimized for maximum utilization of diver requests. If you run, for example, 300 seconds on one N.I.N.A instance and 300 seconds on the other, the image starts and ends will be perfectly synchronized before the diver request. If you have something like 300 seconds on one instance and 150 on the other instance, the second instance will actually do 2 images while the 300 second one is shooting. And if you have something like 300 seconds on one and 240 on the other, the second will wait until the first instance is done before the dithering is actually triggered. Ideally, you set up parallel sequences that are either multiple of each other or use the same exposure time. We understand this is a very niche feature and only a few of you will utilize the full potential of the synchronized dithering. But I think it goes without saying that those who do multi-imaging on one mount will appreciate this feature a lot. So let's talk imaging. This is a software that is made to aid you to capture images after all. There have been quite a few improvements in that realm. The most obvious one you will notice as soon as we will take your first image with N.I.N.A 1.8. That is a new method of stretching the image's previews. Many of you have experience with PixInsight and know the powerful screen transfer function. Those who know it love it, those who don't know it will learn to love it for sure. Because we have that now, and it will make your life easier by providing a proper preview of your captured images, so you can really see the faintest of detail in your captured frame. The previously existing automatic stretch in N.I.N.A was powerful already, but this is definitely the next level. We have implemented mid-tone transfer functionality that PixInsight's screen transfer function is based upon, and now you will have the same settings that you would have in PixInsight for the new auto stretch in N.I.N.A. So the next time you're out imaging with N.I.N.A, you will definitely be able to tell what you have actually captured. We are sure that you will be enjoying the possibilities this gives you and saves you the step of opening the image in other software for a really good preview of what you captured. In terms of imaging, another improvement we have made is in terms of performance. Those who used N.I.N.A before know that we aim for high performance during capture with the least possible downtime in between images. Some of you might have thought that this is not possible to improve any further since N.I.N.A 1.7 was already quite fast in capturing images sequentially with virtually no downtime. Well, we always strive for perfection and good was not good enough. The statistics calculation, which, aside from the image download, took the longest, got a big boost and provides more statistics as well. Of course, it really depends on the CPU you employ in your capturing device, but we have seen calculation speed in the sub-second range even for cameras that have a high pixel count. I don't have really concrete numbers right now, but it is somewhere in the ballpark of a factor of 3 to 4 times faster than before. But we didn't stop here. Download speeds and statistics calculations were one thing, but what if you shot multiple images after another, like for flats? If your computer or drive was not fast enough, the bottleneck became the saving. This was especially noticeable with FITs or EXIFs file formats. They haven't really been optimized before, but they definitely are now. The speed of converting your image into that format and saving is now on par with the non-zipped TIFF format. This will give you the benefit of being able to save FITs headers into your captured files without taking any performance hit. Performance was always a big factor for the development of N.I.N.A, and we will continue to strive to reduce the downtime to an absolute minimum and make the software perform reliable and fast even off very slow machines. As we are closing to the end of the video, I wanted to mention some other things that have been added to N.I.N.A 1.8 without losing myself in detailed explanations. The first thing is the addition of a new supported blade solver. We already had astrometry.net over web and local, and BladeSolve 2 supported. And now you can also use AllSky Blade Solver should you desire to do so. We also worked hard on implementing more native Astro camera drivers and improving upon the existing implementation of those that we already had. In addition to ZVO and ATIC devices, we now also support TubeTech, Altair and Quai natively without you having to resort to the SCOM overhead. A feature that will help all the people that are manually focusing using Batinov masks is the new Bright Stars tool in the imaging panel. It will list all bright stars and their cardinal directions sorted by their current altitude. This should help you finding a good star to focus on. N.I.N.A, starting from 1.8, will now support multiple release channels. There is now a stable channel, a beta channel and a nightly channel. You can choose in the settings what channel you want to subscribe and get updates for. Let me explain what the different channels will mean for you. Stable will be all major releases. You will get bug fixes for the releases should there be something severely broken, but the releases there will be more rarely. The beta or release candidate channel will have all features for the next major release, but there might be small bugs or other issues present. If you like living on the bleeding edge, the nightly channel will have a continuous stream of new updates and features, but it's more likely that something might not work. You can change the update channel in the settings anytime. Additionally to that, there was a myriad of bug fixes and other improvements to N.I.N.A, starting from more fits keywords, bug fixes for Canon cameras, more keywords for file name tokens, various bug fixes for plate solving and sequencing, being able to enable or disable specific sequence entries, you name it, we have it. This is just scratching the surface of all the things that we have fixed or improved in this major release, and I would highly suggest you read through the release notes to get a full picture of all the changes. And so, we arrive at the end of the new feature overview for N.I.N.A 1.8. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a few things about the upcoming release. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to download N.I.N.A from the link in the description. I and the team of N.I.N.A wish all of you clear skies and have a great time imaging. Until next time.